Surprise! Another Oldsmobile video that you guys didn't think you were going to get. Well, here it is. So, I got a couple minutes to tell a story, and this is what happened. So, I thought I had a transmission issue, and the problem was sometimes when I put it into drive, it would just lug and chug, and it just wouldn't want to go into gear, and I thought it was an issue with the transmission. What I did was, I went and adjusted all of these linkages that control the transmission and the throttle and all that kind of fun stuff. And once I did that, I was able to set the idle on this carburetor with it in drive with the wheels chalked, which is weird. I've never done that before, but that's how it went. And when I did that, I put it back into neutral and it shot up to 1200 RPM. So I'm like, well, it went into drive okay once the idle was set correctly. Let's mess with the mixture. I messed with the mixture screws. They didn't do anything at all. Nothing. And I spent probably 3 hours trying to mess around with this carburetor to get it to work right. And I decided, screw it. I'm going to do the thing which I never wanted to do, but we're going to do it, is put an Edelbrock carburetor on this car. So it should be a pretty simple install. I'm hoping this won't mess me up. It sure might, but we'll just have to see how it goes. If you've messed with carburetors for any amount of time, you'll know that putting a carburetor on like this isn't just to plop it on and go. For some cars it is, but this car is too old. So it is a square bore intake, but there's a difference between that. Well, I guess there's a difference between this square bore and that square bore. The size is, well, the size of the holes, and this is an old school adapter that I got at a swap meet. I was going to put it on the Caddy because it has a cracked one, but we're going to put it on the Oldsmobile. The Caddy still runs fine. It was just cosmetic. But anyway, you can see that these 4 holes, which match the one on the intake, are smaller than these 4 holes at the top. And if you look on it straight on, you can kind of see the difference in size. In order to get this carburetor to work, you're going to need this. Now, in order to make this all work on this specific car, we have to keep what's called the bell crank for the transmission, which is basically this piece of metal that was underneath the carburetor. If I hadn't taken this carburetor apart in the past, I would have thought this was part of the carburetor, but it's actually separate. The reason being is this car had a manual transmission. It wouldn't have this piece. So we're going to put a gasket underneath, a gasket on top, and then we're going to put the spacer and then the carburetor. Something I did have to do in order to make the spacer fit is I had to get my Dremel out and kind of shave down a little bit this bracket. Just a little bit. It shouldn't affect the way it works. I'm hoping that I can still use all this stuff with the updated carburetor and have it work. So as you see, this now fits really, really nicely. It's snug, but it does fit. With the gaskets, it'll fit just even a little bit better. Once we get this on, I'll have to have some bolts to put up inside of here in order to put this carburetor on. And I'm hoping that that bell crank right there won't get in the way of all this choke stuff. Worst case, we'll have to get rid of the electric choke, but I'm really hoping it's gonna work. So we'll see what happens. After putting the carburetor on, the only thing I think is going to be an issue is this right here. So I think this is the counterweight for the choke. It moves whenever the choke is open and closed, but it's hitting this bell crank right here. So I have a parts carburetor that I put somewhere. Anyway, it's pretty much garbage. And so what I've done is I've grabbed the piece off of that and I've cut the end off, and we'll see if it works. So we'll see if this works, if it will not bind in anything. Worst case, I can take all this stuff off and put a manual choke on it. So here's a quick shot of the adapter plate installed. I'm pretty sure we're good with the gaskets installment. Is a gasket, a plate, a gasket, the adapter plate, then another gasket. But with those 2 gaskets installed, I think we've finally cleared over here, and I think we should be good. The only thing I'm worried about is the linkages on the side of the carburetor, but I think they're far enough forward we shouldn't have an issue. So we'll see. But yeah, it's coming along much better. It is the next day and we have a charged battery. I have wired up the choke. I have it tested for fuel leaks. We have none. So we'll pump the gas a few times, set the high idle, and see how she runs. Maybe she runs better, who knows? So that's the choke completely off. Not too bad. We'll let it warm up just a tad, and then we'll go drive it around. The car sounds really loud because this is a literal hole. I can see the transmission from here. So there's holes in the floor and all that kind of stuff. But we're gonna try to do is see how it shifts now that we have a different carburetor on it. So far it's acting a little better. We'll see. Kind of annoying I have to hold reverse down. But, you know, welcome to 1953. Go, so if I die, he's gonna get stuck behind me. Yeah, that was at least one shift. I wish I knew how fast I was going, but I don't. Wasn't an insane amount of heat coming up through the floor, through that hole. Come on, old girl, drive faster. Alright, we made it to the post office. Let's see what happens now. Fire's up pretty good. Take the parking brake off. Yeah, we might need to lower the idle just a tad, but that's okay. I think I have a screwdriver. I might just do it here in the parking lot. Problem is, once you put it in drive, I mean, it doesn't really feel like it needs that much. You know what I mean? You know, I'll just do it at home when I have my timing gun. But remember, these old hydromatics were. See how when you put it in gear, it kind of lugs, it almost dies. That's kind of why I don't want to lower the idle anymore, because of that. Let's hope you guys don't fall over this time. Fuel pump would help. What do you guys think? I forget to do that all the time. Yeah. Oh, it runs so much better when it has fuel pump pressure. Feels like I'm driving in a tin can when I go over those things. Much better. It's just much better. That's for sure. You know what, it's not too bad for an in-the-town driver, to tell you the truth.